Yankees versus Cardinals, August 15, 2025 recap. It was a hot night at Busch Stadium, 95 degrees, wind blowing out toward left field, and the Yankees came into town needing a win to keep their playoff positioning intact. The St. Louis Cardinals, sitting at .500, were fighting to climb into the thick of the National League wildcard race. What followed was a game of early surges, tense middle innings, and a nail-biting finish. In the end, it was the Yankees who held on, edging out the Cardinals 4-3 in a game that showcased power, patience, and bullpen poise. Early momentum, Yankees strike fast. The Yankees wasted no time putting pressure on Cardinals starter Andre Pallante, who found himself in trouble right from the opening inning. First, Trent Grisham got aboard and came around to score when Aaron Judge grounded out. Not the flashiest RBI, but it got the Yankees on the board. Then came the big swing of the night. With a runner on base, Jazz Chisholm Jr. stepped into the box. On a warm evening with the ball carrying well, Chisholm Jr. launched a no-doubt home run to right field. 2 runs scored, the Yankees' dugout exploded, and suddenly it was 3-0 New York before St. Louis could even catch its breath. That inning set the tone. Chisholm Jr. wasn't just contributing, he was sparking the lineup, scoring runs, and making things happen. Judge added his RBI, Chisholm Jr. drove in 2 more, and Ben Rice chipped in with a key double and a run scored later in the game, showing how balanced the Yankees' attack could be. Pitching matchup, Gil versus Pallante. On the mound, the Yankees turned to Luis Gil, and he gave them exactly what they needed, a solid, composed start. Gil worked 5.1 innings, allowed just 4 hits and 1 earned run, walked 3, and struck out 4. It wasn't dominant in terms of strikeouts, but it was efficient. Every time the Cardinals threatened, Gil found a way to minimize the damage. Andre Pallante, meanwhile, simply couldn't recover from that rocky first inning. He was tagged for the 3 early runs, and although he settled in later, those first-frame mistakes proved costly. Against a Yankees team fighting for every inch in the playoff race, that kind of deficit was too much to overcome. Cardinals fight back to their credit. The Cardinals didn't fold. They chipped away at Gil and later against the bullpen, scoring 3 runs overall to close the gap. The most consistent bat in the lineup was Ben Rice, who collected 2 hits on the night, including a double that set the table for one of those rallies. Rice's hustle and timely hitting gave the Cardinals life, but they never managed the one big swing that could flip the game. By the 9th inning, the score sat at 4-3 Yankees, the Cardinals threatening to pull even, and Busch Stadium ready to erupt. The bullpen battle, Yankees hold on. This is where the Yankees' bullpen showed its value. They pieced together the late innings, keeping the slim lead intact. And when it came time to close, manager Aaron Boone turned to David Bednar. Bednar, who has been exactly what New York hoped when they brought him in, stepped onto the mound with the game hanging in the balance. He stayed calm, attacked the zone, and shut the door in the 9th inning, earning the save and preserving a much-needed Yankees win. Stars of the game. Let's highlight the key performers. Jazz Chisholm Jr., the star of the night for New York. His 2-run homer in the first inning gave the Yankees the cushion they would ride the rest of the way. He scored twice, drove in 2, and reached double-digit homers for the season, an important personal milestone. Luis Gil, a quality start that kept St. Louis from ever taking control. 5.1 innings of work, just 1 run allowed, steady and reliable. Aaron Judge contributed with an RBI and continued to anchor the lineup, even when he wasn't hitting the long ball. Ben Rice, Cardinals. 2 hits, including a double, plus a run scored. He was the offensive spark plug for St. Louis, though he didn't get enough help around him. David Bednar nailed down the 9th inning, calm under pressure, sealing the Yankees' narrow win. Turning points of the game. The biggest momentum play came early. Chisholm Jr.'s first inning home run. That swing turned a 1-0 game into 3-0, and it forced the Cardinals to play from behind all night. Another turning point was Luis Gil's escape work in the middle innings. Twice St. Louis put runners in scoring position with a chance to tie or take the lead. Twice Gil worked his way out of trouble with ground balls and timely outs. And of course, the 9th inning stood as the ultimate test. with Bednar stepping in to finish the job and silence a rowdy St. Louis crowd. Context and standings impact. This game wasn't just about one win. For the Yankees, it meant keeping hold of their American League wildcard position, staying half a game ahead of the Cleveland Guardians. Every win counts double this time of one. Blue Jays versus Rangers, August 15th, 2025 recap. Baseball fans at Rogers Center were treated to a roller coaster of a ball game. One of those contests where the momentum swung back and forth like a pendulum, where heroes emerged in unexpected places, and where one team walked away with a victory that will be remembered for weeks. The final line read, Toronto Blue Jays 6, Texas Rangers 5. But the story behind those numbers is what makes this game unforgettable. Early control, Higashioka and DeGrom sparked Texas. The night began with the Rangers seizing the upper hand. In the second inning, veteran catcher Kyle Higashioka, not always known for being the centerpiece of Texas's lineup, came through in a massive way. With 2 runners aboard, Higashioka crushed a 3-run homer deep into the night sky. Just like that, the Rangers had a 3-0 lead, silencing the Toronto crowd and giving Texas a surge of early confidence. Backing that offense was none other than Jacob DeGrom, Texas's ace who looked every bit the future Hall of Famer he is. DeGrom dominated the Blue Jays in his 5 innings of work. 5 shutout innings, only 2 hits allowed, 5 strikeouts, and no walks. He painted the corners, kept hitters off balance, and gave his team the foundation for what looked like a sure win. Heading into the middle innings, it felt like Texas had the formula, an early homer from the bottom of the order and their ace in full control. Middle inning shift, Kirk wakes up Toronto. But baseball is never that simple. In the 7th inning, with Toronto still trailing 3-0, the momentum finally cracked open. Enter Alejandro Kirk. With a runner on base, Kirk jumped on a mistake pitch and drove it into the seats for a 2-run homer. The Rogers Center crowd erupted. Suddenly, the game that felt out of reach was within striking distance at 3-2. That swing didn't just put runs on the board, it injected life into the dugout, into the fans, and into the Toronto offense. It was the exact spark the Blue Jays needed. The kind of moment that shifts energy in a stadium and sets the stage for a dramatic finish. The 8th inning chaos, Semien versus Toronto's rally. If Kirk's home run gave Toronto hope, Marcus Semien nearly crushed it. In the top of the 8th inning, with a runner aboard, Semien turned on a pitch and crushed it out of the ballpark for a 2-run homer of his own. Just like that, Texas was back in control, now leading 5-2. The Rangers' dugout exploded, the momentum flipped back their way, and for a moment it felt like the game was over. But this game had one more twist. In the bottom of the 8th, Toronto refused to back down. Patient at-bats, a couple of singles, and a walk loaded the bases. The crowd sensed something special building. First came a walk to force in a run. Now it was 5-3. Then, with the bases still full, Alejandro Kirk stepped up once again. He delivered the biggest swing of the night, a sharp 2-run single that tied the game at 5-5. The Rogers Center crowd shook the stadium with its roar. Moments later, Bo Bichette followed with a clutch RBI single to put Toronto ahead 6-5. In the span of 1 inning, the Blue Jays had erased what felt like a dagger and turned it into a game-defining rally. Pitching under pressure, bullpen breakdown versus bullpen brilliance. The Rangers' bullpen, particularly Phil Maton, simply couldn't handle the pressure of the 8th. Maton walked in a run, then gave up Kirk's go-ahead hit, turning what should have been a Rangers win into a meltdown. On the other side, Toronto's relievers did the opposite. Louis Varland came in and steadied the ship in the late innings, picking up the win, while Jeff Hoffman entered in the 9th with nerves of steel. Hoffman notched his 28th save of the season, retiring the side and closing the door on Texas's last hope. Star players of the night, Alejandro Kirk, Blue Jays. Without question, the star of the night. A 2-run homer in the 7th to spark the comeback, and the game-winning 2-run single in the 8th. In total, 4 RBIs and the heartbeat of Toronto's victory. Marcus Semien, Rangers, delivered what should have been the game-sealing homer in the 8th, but it wasn't enough. Kyle Higashioka, Rangers. His 3-run shot in the 2nd gave Texas the early lead, and showed how dangerous the bottom of the order can be. Jacob deGrom, Rangers, brilliant for 5 innings, but left too early for the bullpen to hold. Bo Bichette, Blue Jays, key RBI single in the 8th to push Toronto ahead. Nathan Lukes, Blue Jays, made a highlight reel leaping catch that robbed Jock Peterson of extra bases, one of those defensive gems that gets lost in the box score but keeps a team alive. Milestones and notables. Jeff Hoffman reached his 28th save of the season, quietly putting together one of the better closer campaigns in the league. Alejandro Kirk's game may be one of his finest in a Blue Jays uniform, combining a homer and a clutch game W.